Welcome back. Well, Gauteng Premier David Makhura has expressed concern over the proposed property rates increase in the City of Johannesburg following the release of its municipal valuations recently. 8,000 property owners have received a Section 78 notices, which will revise valuations for properties that appear to be overvalued. Of these 8,000 valuations, which have been identified as problematic, they have experienced considerable increases, many over 100%. Well, the city's proposals have been met with an overall outcry by the residents, especially those whose properties have been revalued by over 100%. For more on the story, we are now joined in studio by Skhulile Ndlovu, a founder of Encore Real Estate that facilitates and conducts property management for its clients. Very good morning to you. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Good morning, and thank you so much for hosting me.
Essentially, take us through what the initial reception has been from the valuation from the municipality.
All right, so as the news came about, yeah, so the properties are overvalued. So one will think, okay, if a property is overvalued, then it should be something that the owners are excited about. However, it's not the case, because remember that if you were to sell your property in a particular area and it's overvalued by 100%, then that's an issue. So it's going to affect the property market in that particular area, because people, they won't be looking to buy into that area, and the banks, they won't be authorizing bonds, you know, for people who are looking to buy that specific area. But beside that, on the bond side of things, remember that the financial institutions as well, they conduct their own valuation when they grant the loans for people who are buying. So in this case, the outcry is real, the outcry is big, and it's real. So now that people are complaining, they've been given an opportunity to lodge complaints, to object the valuation that has been put out there.
Let's have a look at the number here. It's a 100% increase.
Exactly.
Was that not evaluated or monitored? How do you come up with a 100% increase?
So this is quite strange, and there's no way you can put a reason behind it, you know. There's no way that a property can be at a different value at the previous year, and this year it's 100% more. You get what I mean? So it has to do with so many things that the municipality or the City of Johannesburg has to look at and have to make sure that they fix it as soon as possible, you know. You can understand that the City of Johannesburg obviously is self-funding, you know, they rely on the rate that they get from property owners, you know, to fund some of the activities or the operation as the institution. However, this is not one of the right approach, you know, in terms of overvaluing property. So in this case, you know, property owners are going to be facing a lot of financial constraints, because now the rates are going to be increased due to the properties that are overvalued. You know, so for those property owners, 8,000 of properties that have been put forward, you know, to have been overvalued, they have to make sure that they lodge complaints, they have to object those rates. So those properties surely has to be reevaluated.
Now, having a look at it from a quick glance, one would think that if your property is valued at more, that would be a good thing. Why is it not a good thing in this case? Not
at all. It's not a good thing at all. Firstly, I think it goes to my point. Yeah? So let's make an example here. If a property, 2-bedroom apartment in 4 ways was worth 1 million rand before the whole valuation thing. So that's like an average in a particular sectional type, that property is 100 million. I mean, it's 1 million rather. Then the property out of the blue, it's now 100% more. Surely there's no one who will be willing to buy there, because you know that your neighbor bought the same property, you know, 100% less not so long ago, and now you have to pay 100% more in a short period of time. Secondly, when you increase the value of the property, it comes with the cost, because there are rates that you have to pay for a particular threshold of the property. So if you are paying a certain amount of the previous year, then it's now 100% more. Then as a property owner, you'll take some financial constraint in that matter, you know. So that's why it's outrageous. I've got a lot of those queries asking, okay, I will just sell my property, then I make money out of it. I make 100%, you know, but it's surely not the case, because what we do as our property practitioners is when you go and evaluate the property and you get the value for it, we always advise the property owners to put the property in the market at a certain value, you know. So if it's overvalued, even if by 30%, people, they know they won't buy that property. It's going to stay in the market for long, you know. So think about it now, that the same property is now 100% more. it's just going to be ridiculous. So that particular market, in that particular suburbs, is not going to be enjoying the benefits, of growth in the property sector in this period of time.
Let's have a look at what are some of the important factors when buying a property to consider.
Well, I would look probably in the trends for this particular year. Space is a big issue. So if you're looking at the new developments and the space, it's different from the space in the properties that were developed, let's say, early 90s or 80s. So for someone who's looking to buy a property, it's either you're looking for a modern upmarket apartment that is quite new, you have to deal with the space that is kind of like being used currently, or if you're looking for a bigger space, so you have to look at the properties mostly that were built around early 90s or 80s. So the space is one of the biggest issues. So another thing is people are looking more in terms of the amount that they're going to pay, because there are rates that are involved when you're buying a property. So those are some of the trends. But another thing is green is the new gold. So I'm sure you've heard about the property fund that was listed in the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, I think last week by Growthpoint. So the green property space is becoming big, and it's something that other people, they take into consideration when they are buying a property. Also technology, fiber optic, people, they look, if you're buying into a certain sectional title, do they have like fiber optic, do they have like Wi-Fi, things like that. They play a huge role when buying a property. But also on a personal level, you have to fix your finances, because it still have to go to the financial institution if you're going to be applying for a loan. So you have to look, are you credit worthy? Is your credit score in line with what the financial institution are looking for? And you must also look in terms of extra charges that are involved when you own a property, because it's another thing to say I can afford a bond of 10,000 per month, but it's another thing that there are rates that are involved and levies. So it's not going to be only 10,000, it's going to be more. On top of that, remember that you have to pay insurance as well. That add to the amount of that 10,000 that we had initially planned. So the costs that are involved in terms of owning the property, those are some of the things that you have to take into consideration.
Definitely. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. That was Skhulile Ndlovu, a founder of Encore Real Estate, that facilitates and conducts property management for its clients. Of course, this is on the backdrop of those increases in property taxes here in the city of Johannesburg.